Well, my name is Luz Figueroa. I'm from Peru. I am an engineer, industrial engineer. I have experience in retail, especially doing projects and processes. And I just got admitted in INSEAD for the MBA program for the next year.
So yes, thank you very much. So I'm glad to receive Luz today. As you know, once a month we welcome a student from South America. Of course, most of the time, since we have this great partnership with the GMAT Judes, they are from Peru. But I think next month there will be a student from Venezuela. There will be Federica from Venezuela will be accepted to NYU. And I guess I have a pretty good idea. I will have a student accepted to IMD. Well, basically, Luz, why have you decided to do an MBA? What prompted your decision to do an MBA?
Well, for me, I wanted to change my career path. I mean, I know I love projects, but I want to be involved in more strategic projects. That's why I decided to pursue some MBA that will help me to achieve that, to change to consulting. With that in mind, and Hubert experience, we decided the best MBA program for me was INSEAD.
Okay, because yes, when we met originally, you wanted to study, you wanted to apply to HEC, okay? Because you had met, how did it work? So you had met HEC at a fair, or how you had been in contact with HEC?
In one event, in one online event, I went to one of their lectures, and I really liked it, the university and the program.
Cool. Right? Because what HEC has, HEC is a very well-ranked school, and HEC also has like a double degree with HEC and Yale. So that's why I say, for instance, to students from South America, HEC can be a good option for you, because you get a European degree, year one, and then you get an American degree, year two, which means that you can both work and study, because after the degree at Yale, you can work in the US for 1 year, and you can also work in France for 18 months. So basically, overall, you can spend time abroad. Okay. So why Europe, Luz? Usually in Peru, I think that you have a lot of cultural links with America, with the US. Why have you chosen Europe? So what did you find so attractive with Europe that you have decided to study either at HEC or at INSEAD?
Well, in my case, I got the opportunity to do a exchange program when I was in the university, and it was in Sweden. And I really liked the European atmosphere. I even traveled a little bit around the countries in Europe, and I really like it. So my goal that I decided there is that I wanted to continue studying my MBA in Europe.
Okay, so you wanted to study. So what did you study in Europe? If you can, where was your you went for an exchange program, and which university was it? Which country was it?
In Sweden.
Okay.
It was, I think, in
Malmö?
2015, I think. And
which university was it? Malmö? Lund? I forgot.
No, Lund University.
Okay. So Lund is a cultural center in Sweden, and so you like it a lot. So you like Europe, and you say, I want to study and I want to live there. That's what came to your mind?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah,
I feel okay.
Connection.
So tell me, and so what do you like with INSEAD? What have been so of course we discussed together INSEAD, and I told you if you want to work in consulting, INSEAD is probably the best schools in Europe. Okay, or of course LBS, with the front of LBS, it's a clear program. So why have you finally decided to apply to INSEAD and to INSEAD only, Luz?
Well, for me, because of I wanted consulting, and we have like the INSEAD and the London Business School. For me, London Business School wasn't an option because it was too long and the investment was higher. And I think INSEAD with 1 year program, it's perfect for someone that hasn't that kind of money to invest in an MBA. But it also provides a top ranked program. So that's to be honest, that was one of the most important factors in my decisions.
Okay, so it was important. So basically, yes, I'm going to tell you why I offered Luz to switch. So I said, Luz, look, First, she has a very good GMAT. Okay, she has 690. So I say, okay, it's a very good GMAT. Okay. Second, you're a woman coming from Peru. So they have very few women coming from Peru, from South America. So it's a big plus. Okay. So I'm sure that even with the 670, they would have taken you. So basically, the score was high. Then Luz was a good student. She studied abroad, so she had international exposure. That's something that INSEAD wants. You have already some type of leadership position in your company. So I say, why not? So you're a perfect profile, and you're an engineer. You want to go for an MBA. And after that, work in consulting. They know that they love this type of profile. It's a perfect profile to work in consulting. And plus, she loves Europe. So I say, why don't you go to INSEAD? It's a perfect fit for you. And Luz listened to me because at the beginning she wanted to go to HEC. She was convinced that HEC was the right school. She listened to me. And then we applied and we rapidly got an interview, waited a bit, and got an offer. Okay. So when will you start, Luz? Will you start in September or in January? I forgot. When will you move to January? So you still have time. Okay. So basically, just to give you an idea, so if you want to stay in Europe, basically the program that we have available, I would say that we have 4 or 5. So there is INSEAD, LBS, IAC. So INSEAD is a school that has campuses in Singapore and in Fontainebleau, which is a city near Paris. Then we have HEC near Paris. HEC is not in Paris as well, near Paris. And then we have IAC, that is a good school. So IAC has a campus, the MBA campus is in Barcelona. I'm sure that you all know Barcelona. Then we have London Business School. The program of London Business School, it's a 2-year program. Usually, let's say, yes, it's a 2-year program, even though you can reduce it to 15 months. And then we have Oxford and we have Cambridge. Okay, that's basically the 6 schools that people consider. Of course, there are other very good ones like IE, like WHU in Germany, like ESADE in Barcelona, like AMD. I have a student applying to AMD, but of course, these first 6 schools stand out. Okay. What have been your contact with INSEAD so far? So I know that I put you in contact with Boris. Have you talked to other potential candidates, or have you been part of already some potential students meeting, or what have been your contact so far with INSEAD and Luz?
Well, before applying, I reached out to one person that had already finished their MBA in INSEAD, that was also Peruvian, Christian. He was very, very helpful. I mean, I contacted him via LinkedIn, and now they have created different group chats for all the new students, and I have 2 groups. One of the people that are going to live in France, and the other Latin Americans. Yeah. And it seems fun. It seems okay.
So you have made really good contacts. It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Because what you have to see is that, of course, you live pretty far, but imagine that you are based, I don't know, in Germany, or you're based in Switzerland. They organize what we call pre-MBA meetings. Okay, so you have like an integration week, so you can have like a weekend where you're going to meet your future colleagues. I'm sure that you have been invited to that. Of course, it's too expensive and far too complicated to go to France or to Singapore just for 2-3 days, but they organize such things. So imagine that you have the opportunity through your job to travel. That's something that you could do. Okay. Before applying to INSEAD, what were your contacts with INSEAD? What contacts have you made with INSEAD before applying? Have you attended events? Have you talked to alumni? What have you done to familiarize yourself with INSEAD?
Well, because we like, I didn't have INSEAD in my mind before I read to you, and I when we talk about INSEAD, I only contacted 2 people. One from INSEAD, the admission officer. She was really helpful. We talked like in a small meeting. She told me about the mission program and some about scholarship and but very like very punctual, a very small meeting. And after that, I contact Christian, that was an alumni from INSEAD, because I wanted to get a perspective from someone from Peru, how was their experience in INSEAD, especially in my case because of the money and how he could afford it and everything. So I think he was really helpful for me.
Okay. So basically, Luz, how are you going to finance INSEAD? How easy or difficult it is? What are the solutions? Because that's something that honestly I don't know well. So how do you finance an MBA? Do you finance INSEAD when you're based in Peru? So what are the opportunities being offered to finance your program?
Well, on loans, I mean, I
Loans,
have loan in a Peruvian bank or Prodigy, that it's international.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for the final results in both options
Both,
to
okay.
decide. But
yeah, because that's something that you have to see. Sorry, I will come back to that, Luz. Is that in the US you can get support quite easily. You get quite easily 10 to 20%, 20 to 20% scholarship in the US. Okay. So meaning that they will help you a bit, but at the same time, yes, programs are quite expensive. If you apply to a European program, it will be very difficult to get any type of help from the school. And they don't give, European schools do not give scholarships. Okay. LBS a bit, maybe LBS a bit, but INSEAD, Oxford, Cambridge, HEC, it will be very difficult to get anything. Okay. So basically, the possibilities that you have basically the possibilities that you have either loans in Peru or Prodigy Finance. Okay. So can you explain, Luz, the difference between the two?
Well, a bank in Peru is still like a bank. You made a loan in Peru, but Prodigy is not actually a bank. It's like a company that that gets investors to invest for different students that want to pursue an MBA or a different kind of postgraduate program in top schools of the world. So you just like present that you're admitted to a university and your financial status and different documents, but not as much as a bank, but different documents, and they connect you with an investor. They give you also a deal. I don't know how to say the word. And that's it. I mean, it's like a bank, but it's not a bank. It's like
a company and the problem that you have with Prodigy, it's quite expensive. Huh? So the rate that they give you is what they give, 6%, 7%? Which is the rate that they offer Prodigy?
I don't have the final offer yet.
You don't have the final offer, okay? But of course, imagine that the better the school, the easier it is. Of course, if you get accepted to IAC or HEC or INSEAD or LBS, it's easy. Of course, if the school is not well known, it's more difficult. You have to know that you can also not get a loan from Prodigy if you apply to a program of your country. For instance, if you are British and you apply to London Business School, you're not eligible because they will say you can find a bank in your country. So of course it's not easy. And being based in Peru, is it easy to get the money? Is it easy to get $100,000 to apply to INSEAD?
No.
In Peru, it must be difficult. No.
No, it must be because they are not used to that and program that expensive. Well, just in my case, because it depends on the people and blah, 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 but I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not easy. So basically, of course, that this situation makes that, of course, Luz, she wants to work in consulting. So of course, if you work in consulting, after that, if she starts in January, she will probably get an internship in consulting, okay? And there she can make, she can save $5,000 to $6,000 after she has like a 6 to 7 weeks summer internships in a consulting company. And what you get after that, if you join, you get a signing bonus, and the signing bonus is between $20,000 to $30,000. Okay, well, so that's the way it works. But I understand that for many students, especially those based in Peru, money, the financing is an issue. Okay, because banks are not used to that. Salaries are not very high. And you have to go probably through a bit of everything. So the idea is probably to use a bit of college, a bit some scholarship, and others. So basically, me, I work a lot with McKinsey. So McKinsey is a management consulting company, especially in Spain. And of course, for my students in Spain, it's quite easy because they get sponsored by McKinsey. So they study, they work 2 or 3 years, and after 2 or 3 years, they receive a sponsorship from McKinsey. That makes the thing easier. So that's something that I would advise. If right after school, you know that you want to work for, you want to do an MBA, try to enter top management consulting, and there you can expect to get some support. Okay. So basically, the best thing to do now is to ask questions to students who have their questions, I'm sure. So basically, Charlie, we're in contact together. Charlie, so we'll have a meeting with the coach tomorrow. Charlie, hello.
Hello.
Charlie, you have questions for us, Charlie?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I have a question. I want to know if maybe Luz, if you speak French, or it will be if you consider that the idiom the language, sorry, a problem or something to solve before applying to INSEAD.
Yeah. Can you reply, Luz? Because it's a good question, by the way, because for INSEAD, there's a specificity for INSEAD, you need to speak 2 foreign languages. So can you explain how it works at INSEAD, Luz?
Well, I mean, for applying, you need your native language and English, but I know that to finish the program, you need a third language. And in a basic level, I think, I'm not quite sure.
No, you need to be intermediate.
Intermediate, okay. In my case, I already know French, but like no, because I learned many years ago, but I do have a diploma of the Delft diploma with B1, B2, I don't know. So yeah, I know that I'm like okay with the language requirements, but since I decided to apply to INSEAD, and also because whoever recommended me, I started to practice my French again with Duolingo. But I think, yeah, it's important if you want to build your life or your career in Europe or wherever you want to live, you need to have the language because it will be a barrier, I think.
For instance, so if you want to study French, you should go to Alliance Française, Luz, okay? And then you can have you can study French. So that's something that, yes. So you have to see the problem with language is INSEAD is the only school in Europe that will ask you for a second foreign language. Okay? If you apply to LBS or Oxford or IUC or Bocconi or HEC, they will not ask you to speak French. Now, of course, I understand that many of you who want to study abroad, you also want to conduct your career outside Peru. Okay? So then it makes sense to learn the language of the country where you want to stay. So now I want to say to you something to you, Luz, is that if you want to work for McKinsey in Paris, you have to be fluent in French and you have to be C2. Okay? So if it's your objective, I would suggest you do a bit more than Duolingo. Okay? Suggest that you go to Alliance Française and you practice daily so that you say, when I arrive in France in January, my level is C1, and when I finish, I'm C2. Okay? Now it's funny because I was talking to students from INSEAD, and they told me that in Fontainebleau, so the city where you have everybody speaks English. So it's very rare in France that everybody speaks English. When you buy your baguette or your bread in a bakery, supermarket, everybody speaks English because they know that you have so many, you have thousands of English speakers because you have the students, but you have the wife, or the partner. Then you have professors, you have people working there in the administration. So it makes people working or being involved within SEAD. You have about 3,000 in a city that has 20,000. So of course they know that they have to adapt to the deal. Huh? So now, of course, speaking the language of the country where you want to stay is obvious. If you want to study, I don't know, at WHU in Germany, and you want to spend the rest of your life in Germany, it's better that you speak German. Huh? Okay. So, and you learn fast. By the way, French and Spanish are close languages. Huh? They are different, but speaking Spanish, you get French quite easily. Okay. That sister languages. Okay. So that's the first question. So 2 languages, and of course essential. For instance, you cannot work in consulting if you're not fluent in the language in which you want to study. So for instance, Luz, for you, I suggest to you'd be good at French, because if you're good at French, you can work in France, in Switzerland, and in Belgium, okay, in consulting, and also speaking Spanish. You can also work in Spain. So I would strongly suggest that you work on your French, because you can then be recruited by one of the 4 offices of McKinsey, okay, which is a good necessary. Susanna, I don't know you, Susanna. Are you a student with us? I don't know. Susanna? Okay. What is your question, Susanna? Hello? Susanna? Hello? So, I don't know all of you. Susanna, she cannot talk. So, Luciana. Luciana. She's a student of ours, Carlos, Luciana. Hello? Luciana? Hello? She has a question? Luciana? No? Don't be shy. Who are the 3 others? I cannot see their name. I wish I could see their name. Has anybody else a question? So Luciana, she cannot talk. Susanna, I don't want to talk. What is 3 other people? Let me see. There's a way I can see the name. So Carla, I know that you want to apply to INSEAD, Carla. So what are your questions, Carla? Carla? Carla?
Sorry, I'm here. I'm here. I'm sorry.
So
sorry, I can turn my camera off on right now.
Okay,
basically, I wanted to know how much emphasis they actually put on the GMAT score, because I know that the average for INSEAD is 690, if I'm not mistaken. And I've been struggling to get that, because I apparently under pressure I don't perform as well as when I do the mocks. So I wanted to know, like in reality, or in practical terms, how much weight do they actually put on the GMAT, and how much weight do they put on any other different factors, and the fact that we're from Peru?
Now, basically, I will try to answer this question, and then Carla can also help. Luz can also help. So basically, I would say that INSEAD, they want a balanced score. So they want you to be in the top 20% of verbal and of quantitative. Okay, which means that you need to have like a 48, if possible, a 48, 49 in mathematics, and I would say 38, 39 in verbal. So you don't need to have a 700. For instance, last year from France, I didn't have any student with a 700. They all score between, I don't know, 680, they score between 680 and 690, and they got in. Okay? Basically, you don't need to have the student that are from Spain this year, not a single one, but got a 700. So I would say 680, 690 is enough. Okay? But of course,
would it be, sorry to interrupt. Would it be good enough though for them? Because they want a balance score, right? So if, say, I get a 42, 43 in verbal, but I get something like a 45, 46 in mathematics, would they see that as like not quite good?
But yes, because that's what you got, Carla. What did you get so far?
No. I haven't taken it again. So
But your latest score is what? Your latest score is what? What is your latest score?
I got a really bad score last time because I got 600. But the thing is, I didn't have a board with me, so that made it near impossible to solve any of the quant section.
Of course.
Any of the questions for the quant section. So I'm trying to get at least 670, 680, because for some reason I can't really seem to get my quant score higher up, but I think it's a timing thing. And so like I'm just really trying to get that and just get it sorted.
That's what you need. So basically, yes, the GMAT score will also depend on the nationality, and of course, there are fewer students coming from South America. So imagine that they say we need 20. They say we need 15% South Americans. So they will take the top 15%.
Okay.
So of course, it's much easier to get into INSEAD when you're from South America than when you're from India. Okay. So because they will say INSEAD will receive, I don't know, 5,000 applicants. They need, let's say that they need 150 from South America, and they have probably 500, 600 from South America. So of course, it makes the entry easier. Okay, it doesn't make that easy, but it is easier. So yes, you don't need 750, but yes, you mentioned the score between 670 and 680, and that's what you need definitely. Voilà. Okay. Felipe, you have a question? I don't know you, Felipe. Felipe? Felipe? Is he a student of ours, Felipe? No.
Hello, hello everyone.
Felipe. Are you a
Well,
student with us? Are you studying with us, Felipe? I'm not even sure. You're a student from GMAT Jutes?
Yes, I'm still from Jumajuts. I'm quite new actually. I will start my assessment today.
Okay.
Well, as Carla, I think that I am more concerned about is the GMAT score. I have a really good GMAT score in quant, but not that very good in verbal.
Okay.
And I am applying. Well, I want to apply to Canadian top business schools. So maybe the question I've got for Luz would be how difficult it is to get a loan or to apply for financial credit being Peruvian.
She told you it's difficult, huh? She told you it's difficult because you need to go through prodigy finance, which is not easy, but at the same time you will be eligible, provided that you get a good school and so on and so forth. Peruvian banks are not used to giving such big loans to students. Huh? That's the answer. You want to answer?
Yeah, but I think it also depends on the university and the country you wanted to study, because I think in Canada there are different kind of loans also. I mean, for me in INSEAD, in what I've searched, I mean, my only option is Prodigy, but if that's the case in INSEAD and in France, but it depends on the country and the university you want to apply. So I will recommend to look up I don't know, loans in Canada for university, because I think they have more options, but I really don't know.
Yes, so basically, yes, there are probably more options in Canada, more scholarships, and what you have to see is that you can have some schools that are inexpensive, but of course, if you want to study at McGill, University of Toronto, Rotman, University of British Columbia, it would be, so for instance, it's true that, for instance, if you're Canadian, it's very easy to get a loan in Canada, okay? When you're a foreigner, yes, you have difficult, but the top schools are expensive. Okay, now cost of life, tuitions are slightly lower, and it's true that in Canada it is easier to migrate after the MBA. So I would say that of course Canada is a good country if you want to migrate, because it will be probably the studies will be cheaper, and you can stay there longer, and they encourage people high potential to stay in Canada and to work. Okay. But that's what I have to say. Now, of course, you have to know that if you're also a bright student, if you get accepted to Harvard or to Wharton or to Stanford, they will finance your studies. Okay, so there are ways of getting finance. Either you go to work for consulting right after your studies, or you try to get really top schools in the US that will allow financing. Unfortunately, and it's a bit a shame, INSEAD, that is normally ranked number 1 in the FT, should give some type of help, but they don't really help. So Felipe, yes, you have an assessment today, and I hope that I will see you in class very soon. Charlie, you have another question? Yeah.
Yes, I want to ask Luz, how do you weigh the trade-offs between making a 1-year MBA and a 2-year MBA? Because usually the 1-year MBA doesn't have an internship for summer. Usually this summer is the first place or first opportunity to seek a future job. So how do you weigh this? The
1 year versus 2-year program, yeah, because it's true that HEC was somehow a 2-year program.
Well, in my case, I have two options, like HEC and INSEAD. I mean, that's when I wanted to go. And when I talked also to students in HEC. I asked them about the training program, if they were able to achieve, and they told me no, that it was really difficult, and I didn't have that answer in INSEAD, even though it's only 1 year. If you start in January, you have the option. So for me, that was like a very important factor, because in my case, I don't have the luxury to just say, okay, I'm gonna gamble to see where I can get the best return. So I mean, I spoke to students that were really honest to me about the HEC experience, and that's why I say, okay, no, INSEAD, I think that will give me the best chance to
Yeah.
achieve a training program or achieve a job after the MBA. So
yes, what I want to tell you, Charlie, is that at INSEAD, there are two possibilities of doing an internship. If you start like Luz in January, you have to see that there are vacations. You can complete a 6-week internship, okay? Which is very close to what you can do in the US, because in the US it's like 8 weeks, okay? So you can have like a 6-week internship, and the internship is a way for you to get acquainted with the company and receive a job offer. So they have, if you do the January track, you have a six-week internship, and it's very close to what, for instance, to give you an idea, I have a student, Thomas, who is studying at London Business School. As you know, London Business School, they sell you the fact that they have a summer internship, but he told me that he finishes class this year, July 15, okay? After that, he told me that he felt that he wanted to go on vacations a bit, okay, for like 2 weeks, okay? And then he will have a 4-week internship. So basically, he has a shorter internship than my student went to INSEAD, okay? So it was a short internship. So it's possible. And then you can also have an internship at INSEAD, even if you do the September intake, and then you finish in June, you can have like an internship from July to December.
All right.
You see? So it's still possible to have an internship with INSEAD. So it's a bit different. And still, even if you do the internship, the 6-month internship after INSEAD, if you take the September intake, you have yes, it will be a very long period. And it's possible because after INSEAD, you can stay, for instance, in France for a year. You can say the first 6 months could be an internship, okay? And then if they like you, they offer you a job. So it's possible. It's not an obstacle, this thing. The fact is that the difference will be something like this, is that it's true that if you study in the US for 2 years and you want to make a complete career change, it will probably be easier if you have a 2-year program to make a career change. Okay? That's not your case. Okay? So for instance, for Luz, yes, her job is going to be in consulting, and probably the first mission that she will have will be probably in the retail sector before they give her other type of mission. Okay, but to start with, it will be a mission in the retail sector, most likely. Okay, so in the US, maybe the 2-year program may allow you to make a career switch, provided that you get an internship in the sector in which you want to work. Okay, so the fact is that being an engineer, someone like Luz, so if she wants to make a switch to consulting, it's possible. If she had told me I want to work as an investment banker after INSEAD, I would have told her it's impossible. And probably INSEAD would not have taken her. Okay. Now she can always work for a private equity firm. Okay. If she has an internship there. Okay. She can make a switch in private equity. Many things are possible, but not a complete career switch that requires a lot of experience, a lot of expertise that she doesn't have yet in banking, for instance. Yeah.
Okay.
Willie, you have a question, Willie?
Yes, but I don't know if they answered the question. I want to know what was her dream goal after the MBA. Why was she doing the MBA?
Okay. What is your dream job, Luz?
well, yeah, I chose the MBA because I wanted to switch my career path. Right now, I work on projects, but like operational projects. I wanted to move to consultancy, and that's why I choose the MBA, and that's why also I choose INSEAD.
Yeah, the dream job is consulting, and of course it makes sense. By the way, you know that I have a student. His name is Nicolas. So he he owns Galerie Lafayette, and he's an INSEAD graduate. So I'm sure that you can always be in contact with him. And they had a difficult year because of COVID, but that's something that. So basically, they are pretty strong in retail. Okay, INSEAD is pretty strong in retail. If you cannot switch to consulting right after INSEAD. Okay. So has anybody a question? So Charlie asked a question, Willie asked a question, Felipe, Carla. So I asked, by the way, 2 other students to ask a question. They were so scared that they ran away. Who else has a question? Okay. So basically, Luz, what would be your ultimate pieces of advice that you give to Charlie, Willie, and Carla and Felipe?
Well, first, for the GMAT, I was like recalling what my journey there. I recommend you do the app Elevate. I mean it. I did the GMAT twice. The first one, and I think the difference was really good, and it was because this app Elevate is like a game, but it helps you to think faster for math and for verbal for the GMAT. That's for GMAT. Then the second part of the flying, I think, like, do your research well. Like, you have to be honest what you want, and you have to be honest also what you can get to pay, because I think for Latin American people it's very difficult to have the amount of money that requires an MBA program, a top MBA program. Yeah, that's it. I think. I mean, you just have to be honest and prepare, and that's it.
Yes. So basically, yes. Toulouse is right. I would say that probably the natural destination for South American is to study in North America, simply because you probably have family there. Okay. And having family there, it may be easier for you to get a loan, because as you know, if you have a US cosigner, it's easy to get a loan. You don't have family, you in America, Luz. You have family? No. You have
No,
family?
no, no.
No, you don't have family, but maybe Willie, or I don't know. Willie has family. I think it's Charlie or Willie. Willie has family, wants to stay in America.
Yes.
So basically, you
have
have
a
family. So
aunt.
yes, so I told you Willie. So, but you also have family in Spain, Willie. No, haven't
Oh,
you?
yes, in Spain, and I have an
Spain,
aunt
okay.
in Miami.
So basically, it means that if you have family in Spain, or it's easier because they can guarantee the loan. Okay, they can be cosigner. So that's the first thing. So of course, so basically, probably a lot of students from South America will study in US because they have a US cosigner. And also, the second reason that Luz will find out is that salaries in America, in the US, are higher than salaries in Europe. Okay, and it comes from the fact that in Europe we live in a more socialist system, in that the state covers a lot of the expenses, so you get less, you have higher taxes. At the same time, everything is covered. For instance, when you sick in Europe, you don't have to pay anything, type of thing. So when you sick in Europe, you have a card. It's like a credit card. You give it to the hospital or to the drugstore, and since if you have a social security number, you don't pay anything. For instance, if for instance I had to get vaccinated for COVID, I had to be tested, etc. To give an example, you have to be tested twice, I had to be vaccinated. I give my card, and I don't pay anything. I went to Spain. I had to be tested. I paid 50 euros. So I paid $60 every time I was tested. Okay. You want drugs, you have to pay 100 euros or $100 like this. So I can see, for instance, coming from France, you have a card. It's like a credit card. You give it because you have a job and you don't pay anything. So believe me, in certain times, it's a big difference. Same thing, education is free in France. So you have to see that you make less, but at the same time, you spend far less. Okay. Me, I live in Belgium. I spend very little, probably less than in Peru. Okay. And I live in good conditions. So life is inexpensive, everything is covered. Okay, so that's why when you live in Europe, it's interesting. So you keep most of your salary for it. Okay? So that's the thing to consider. But of course, coming from South America, going to the US makes sense. Okay. So for instance, for Luz, it's a real challenge. But Luz, it's a life goal at the same time for you to be in Europe for some time. You speak French, you want to spend time there, you want to experience Europe. Okay, maybe stay there. Okay? Maybe she will stay in Europe. So we things she will see. For now, you're pretty young, and it's a bit strange to talk something like this. But imagine that you go to INSEAD, you meet someone, get married, you both make $150,000 as a couple. It's good money. You have a nice life. So it's a life changing. Many of my students. So nobody ever regretted to study in Europe and US. And of course, Luz is right. INSEAD is going to change your life in 2-3 years. It will be very different. I give you an anecdote that is funny. You know me, I'm a professor. I teach, created INSEAD, created the MBA Center, sorry. And I go to London, and I have so many students who have been to London Business School, like probably like 200 in 15 years, that there's a train called Eurostar, which is the train that brings you from London to Paris, because we have a train and we have a tunnel under the sea. And me, I take the second class, etc. Because it's already very expensive. It's like $300 to take this train, okay? Because it's very fast and very convenient, because you leave from the city of London and you arrive in the center of Paris. So yeah, it means in 2 hours and a half you go from the center of London to the center of Paris. And there is always a student that I meet in the cafe. There's a cafe in the station or there's a cafe in the train. And me, I travel second class, and I see all my students, they have like a gold card as gold member, and they're in first class, and they receive caviar, etc. So I see that once they are done with their MBA, it's a different life. Okay, these guys they live in a different world. Okay, they go on weekends skiing, they travel first class. Okay? It's a different life. Okay, I feel poor when I meet them. So that's what we have. So, thank you very much, Willy, Charlie. I think that Willy, Charlie will meet tomorrow. I see. Felipe, you'll start soon. You'll tell me where you want to apply. And Carla, yes, you have to take the GMAT and you have to improve 680, 670. By the way, stay in contact with Luz. Ask Carlo to give you Luz contacts, and she will give you the contact, so that you, at least once you start Luz, you start the MBA, you can tell her how it goes. By the way, because there's a question regarding INSEAD, which is, should I study in Fontainebleau or should I study in Europe, in Singapore? That's something that you have to consider. I don't know. So Luz, she speaks French. She wants to spend time in Europe, but maybe you can go to Singapore. The problem is that to find a job in Singapore is very difficult. Very difficult to find a job in Singapore, whereas in France it's easy to find a job. It's not too difficult. You have 18 million jobs in 18. So it's thank you, Luz, for coming. You wanted to see what it looks like, so it was a pleasure to see you. I hope that I will have the opportunity to meet you at INSEAD, because I know that I have to go to interview the dean of INSEAD, so I don't know when it will be, but maybe it will be before Christmas or after Christmas, and I will be happy to see you. You're in contact now with Boris? Are you in contact with Boris? Again, I put you in contact with.
Not yet. I have to do
you should contact. He's a super nice guy. He's a very nice guy, very, very nice person. Talk to you, Charlie and Willy. We have lots of work tomorrow. Will be our next success stories.
Sorry, Luz, can I ask you again? What was the tool that you used for, what was it called? The Elevate?
Yeah, Elevate. I think I'm gonna write it in the chat. Wait.
What is Elevate?
Where do I'm trying to find it online.
But what is Elevate, Luz? What is it?
She said it was a tool that helped her basically answer questions very quickly.
But ask anyway. Mariano is very knowledgeable about this. Ask him that he gives you. He has all possible tools.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be happy to help you, Carla, as well. I don't know this thing. It's called Elevate, and Luz. It's a software. There's so many things available. Well, thank you very much, Rudy, for coming. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Felipe. Bye-bye.